What's up, good people? How you doing? It's Jay. How can I put this? The space race was something that had to be done with very little technology. If anyone would have believed, if they would have said 50 years ago that we made it to the moon today, America, but we will not be able to come back for another 58 years, believe it or not. There's no way they would have said that or predicted us as flat earthers to come out and pinpoint every little thing that they know is wrong. And all the errors in the International Swim Station with the harnesses and everything. We pinpoint all of that. We brought that out. That extended this visit to the moon even today because we are looking carefully. (2028) is our expected time to get back to the moon, which we know is not going to happen. That's why it's taking so long. But that should bring people back to all the science that you learned in school, all the science that you have textbooks at home, that you have from school, up in the attic, in the trunk. You can open that, and you'll see things that operate certain machinery and molecules and all that crap, and what NASA Space Agency did was put that with an imaginary science. They just collided it, and then they keep you in tune with it by saying, remember you learned this part in school? Well, that operates this part of the machine, and that causes it to go up into space. And so you feel connected. So you think that they're taking stuff from what you learned in school and putting it with this imaginary space that they cannot prove. They can prove what you learned in school. They could pull up a book on TV and you can be like, oh my God, I got that same book. And you feel connected. You think you know something, but they can't prove anything on their end. Their end is all imaginary. Their end is unproven. Their end is CGI. Their end is green screens. And that's just a little nugget I wanted to try to help you remember. Keep in mind that the science you learned in school and their science that they're coming up with is all put together to make you feel connected, like you know something, like you think you're trying to educate me. You can't. All I want is proof.
Okay.
With Bill Kaysing, and Bill Kaysing is what you might call a pioneer in this whole issue of getting at truth and reality, and specifically in the area of the Apollo moon missions, what happened and what didn't happen. The module set down on the surface of the moon, the amount of propulsion that would have been required to do that, and it leaves no cloud of dust, no crater.
Right. Having seen hundreds of rocket firings when I was employed by Rocketdyne, I know that the jet of the lunar module lander, the lunar lander, would have created an enormous crater. It would have scoured the moon's surface. It would have tossed up rocks, sand, everything, and created a crater maybe so large that the entire lunar lander could have sunk into it. After all, we're dealing with a 10,000-pound thrust engine, which is pointed directly at the surface, lowered into the surface, and yet, if you look at pictures of the lunar lander on the moon, there is no disturbance whatsoever under the lunar lander's rocket.
And no dust deposited in the pads, the cup-shaped pads at the bottom.
That's another good point. Dust would have been blown 6 ways from Sunday and would have landed everywhere.
And then the famous scene, which has been played over and over, where they are landing there, but they're setting down, and you're hearing the astronaut talking through it.
Oh, that's a good point. Let's say, became aware of that only recently, that here's Neil Armstrong talking about landing on the moon with a microphone, and yet he's sitting practically on top of a rocket engine that is putting out sound levels of about 140 or 150 decibels. Now, we know that that is absolutely impossible to overcome that sound level inside the lunar lander with a normal human voice.
Eagle, we got you now. It's looking good, over. Roger, copy. Eagle, Houston, after yaw around, angles, S-band pitch, -900, yaw, +18. Roger, you're a go to continue power descent. You're a go to continue power descent.
Altitude now 21,000 feet, still looking very good. Velocity down now to 1,200 feet per second.
You're looking great to us, Eagle.
Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm.
Roger, we got you. We're going at alarm.
Good radar data. We're now in the approach phase, everything looking good. Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. Program alarm.
Altitude 1,600. 1,400 feet, still looking very good.
700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees. 100 feet down at 19. 1201. 1201.
Roger, 1201 alarm. We're go. Same type. We're go.
Altitude, velocity light. 3.5 down. 220 feet. 13 forward. 11 forward, coming down nicely. 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down.
60 seconds.
Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. That's okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Okay, we've changed our graphic picture here in the background, and it's a one-sheet poster that I put together from pictures on the website www.geocities.com/ApolloReality/. And the gentleman that put this together got actually these images off the Langley Research Center website. And some of these actually you're just seeing for the first time yourself, isn't that right, Bill?
That's right, yeah. I'm amazed to find these pictures. I've never seen any of them before except the one in the upper right. And what amazes me is this one here showing a model of the moon with a camera track, showing how easily it would have been to fake the filming of the moon.
And then the image just to the right of that shows like the finished moon
Exactly.
With somebody sitting at the controls, maybe turning it or
Right. These are very revealing pictures, and I strongly recommend people with PCs to download them and study them.
Hey, what's up, good people? This is Jay from, there you have it. I was just watching one of my videos, Flat Earther for Life, and things you don't notice at the beginning, just like when we do filming of the moon or something, we are just recording it. I'm normally talking, I'm just running my mouth, and then we go back and watch it, then we see something that we didn't see. But this was for the moon landing part, how they staged the moon landing, and this was supposed to be what we seen, or I wasn't born yet, what we seen on TV when it was supposedly coming down towards the moon. The Apollo, whatever the hell, whoever, which one, I don't know. But all of them are fake. But you look here and you see the reflection of the guy operating this machine here coming down to the moon. The fake moon that they are painting here and they put together, and you could tell he's checking for measurements on this picture of the moon, like a picture I could have took for him last week, but pushed it into the future, like Back to the Future, I'm just joking. But obviously they took a picture of the moon because that's all you can do, and they're trying to duplicate it. He's making sure that the measurements are the same, craters. The measurements of the craters are the same on that paper, and this was that other ball of the moon. So this is what they used to have those close-up shots, as if the Buzz and all of them was landing on the moon. It would be something like this, and that's what that video was doing. Right here, giving you that image, and as you can see, that's someone standing right there. That's his shoulder, his arm, his head looks like it's down in a book or a machine looking at it or something, and that's the back of his head up here. And you can see his reflection on this piece of device here that I was thinking about. Let me just run this back real quick, then I'm gonna get off this. I had to go back and see right there. How they're sitting there recording that. And this was supposed to be the ship landing on the moon, like this, for us at home. And this is how they did it. But, not that I didn't know what I was posting, I just didn't see that guy in the damn video. You know what I mean? And notice the cables right there. And here's that first ball moon. And here's where the guy was standing. And you'll see it right here. There's that other ball. They made the moon, and here's the other one. And here you see this guy. His reflection. Stay flat. Thanks for listening. I just happened to see it. I just caught it, and I just wanted to, I couldn't go back and write on it, fonts or anything, but I just wanted to say something about it. All right? Love you all. Stay flat. Be safe. God bless.
NASA spent gigantic sums of money during the 1960s, but most of it was spent on the ground, not in space. Huge American corporations, many of which were manufacturing hardware for the military, made gigantic profits designing space vehicles and, more importantly, life-sized models of spaceships, and even huge stage sets resembling the lunar surface. Someone in NASA had realized that after taking billions of dollars from the American people, if they couldn't make it to the moon, they would fake it to the moon.
Obviously, if you're going to somewhere that nobody has been before, you need to have a simulator which recreates that environment as closely as you can. If you're going to the moon, you recreate the surface of the moon. And here we see a section of the lunar surface created. It's about 30 foot high, 30 foot long, 35 foot long. Scale is given by the two people standing in front of it. There were plenty of simulation exercises, but the point is, and should be taken into account in virtually everything that is discussed with the Apollo program, 400,000 people may have worked on the program in total, but none of them had a need to know more than his own job required. The people who were making the rockets didn't know what the people who were making the spacesuits were doing, because they had no need to know about that. Their job was to make the best models and the best simulation of the lunar surface that they could. And if we come up to this picture here, we see the three scales on which these models were built. We have here the whole moon as one unit. It stands about 20 foot high. We have here behind it a section of the surface of the moon. You'll notice it's curved. And here we have a more detailed section of the lunar surface.
In this film, we shall not only prove beyond all reasonable doubt that many of the official NASA images of lunar exploration are fake, but we shall also examine the motives for the biggest lie put before the world. Why did NASA repeatedly fake lunar images and photographs? Why did NASA stage lunar expeditions which did not happen? The answer will surprise you.
Could the footage which we see of the limb approaching the moon be filmed in a TV studio?
It was filmed in a TV studio. There's absolutely no doubts whatsoever about that. And the way that this film was created was by the use of models. There's nothing secret about the models. They exist. You can go and see them today. The models were very lifelike, very realistic. There is one that is a life-size model. It's in Flagstaff in Arizona. It's 2 miles long, and it's an exact replica of the Sea of Tranquility. The photographs were used to create from those images the replica of the Sea of Tranquility, so that if it was flown over in a helicopter, it would appear as if it was a spacecraft approaching a similar area to land. So yes, all the scenes of the lunar surface were filmed on Earth.
Radiation, and without having spacesuits nor spacecraft which can protect the occupants from radiation, NASA convinced the American people to pay $40 billion for the space program.
The most lethal forms of radiation, of course, are at the higher end of the spectrum. That's gamma rays and X-rays. We know what ultraviolet can do. If you stay out too long in the sun, you get sunburn and skin cancer and die, and it's all very sad. But gamma rays, and X-rays especially, are particularly lethal to humans, unprotected humans. There was no protection that I have been able to identify. I've found no reference to it. I found nothing that will tell me what level of protection is offered, so I have to assume none was. I've contacted the manufacturers of the spacesuits, and they said there was no radiation protection built into the spacesuits, because I asked them if these same spacesuits could be used by technicians to go to Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island, because the nuclear reactors produce the same radiation as produced in space. They said no, not advisable, no protection.
Okay.
You know, after years of cost overruns and slipped deadlines, we're actually being told that the earliest we can get back to the moon is 2028.
NASA came in with a vacuum-packed, glass enclosed moon rock that was taken off the moon in 1969. It's 3.6 billion years old. I mean, I may be wrong about it, but that's what I think.
Good morning, I'm Steve Inskeep. A prized possession in the Dutch National Museum is not what the curators thought. Back in 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts visited the Netherlands, and the U.S. ambassador gave the Dutch Prime Minister what he said was a moon rock. No doubt it gave a warm feeling to the U.S. ally. But when an expert saw it in the National Museum, he said he wasn't so sure it was real. Geologists have now identified the moon rock as petrified wood.
We are now approaching lunar sunrise, and for all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8 has a message that we would like to send to you. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo